my older brother is 3 years older than me. I'm his younger brother, so I like to do what my older brother did. He liked wrestling when he was a kid, and then he wanted to be a wrestler when he grew up, and so he started wrestling when he was 17 at a little place in Grand Rapids, Michigan. I followed him around, and I set up chairs, and I set up rings, and I bring my camera to the show and record it and do all that stuff you do when you first sort of are trying to break into business. And at the age of 15, I got the opportunity to train with a guy named Joe Ortega who worked as El Tejano. And I was thrilled, I was ecstatic. One of the referees was on vacation, and they needed somebody, and I'm somebody. I'm not nobody, I'm somebody. And so that's how I started. It was my freshman year of high school. And it was awesome to be 15 and doing this. I thought it was cool.
What was Jimmy Jacobs like when he was 15 starting his
A
wrestling?
prick, probably, if you had to ask anybody that was around me. I don't know. It's hard to, you're 15, you're going through puberty, you're going through, you're a little, shitty little 15-year-old kid, and I was.
Now, going from the start of your wrestling career to when how did you first find out about Ring of Honor?
Well, everybody was talking about it in 2002. That was like the thing, man. Like, that's when, tapes were big, the internet was just starting to boom and bubble and that sort of stuff. And yeah, if you were an independent wrestler, you knew anything about independent wrestling, you knew about Ring of Honor, and it was the place to be. I used to be like, wow, those guys are big stars. Like, wow, that Amazing Red has his own private jet or something. I don't think he does.
How did you end up here?
Alex Shelley and I had started working together in 2003. We worked at IW Mid-South for Ian Rotten. We're traveling, for Norm Connors and things like that. So we were starting to get a little bit of internet buzz going on. And at the same time, CM Punk was still working for IW Mid-South. And I'd known Punk since he broke in. Not saying he liked me, because he didn't when I broke in at all. So I don't know if it was because he felt bad because he gave me a swirly when I was 16, or just, Alex and I were, we were having matches. They were, I guess, good for the time. People were talking about them enough. So he told me and Alex to give him a tape, and he would give the tape to Gabe. And so he gave him a tape for a 30-minute Iron Man match. And the word we got back was that Gabe said we're good, but not Ring of Honor good, which is probably true. But sort of at that same time, they're booking Chris Sabin, and there's a show in Philly, and I don't think they wanted to fly him for whatever reason. So Gabe said, hey, just bring 2 guys. I'll put them on the pre-show and whatever. And so he asked us, Sabin asked us if we wanted to do it, and we said, of course. And he told Gabe who he's going to bring. And Gabe was like, oh, I know those guys. They're good. We'll put them on the main show, and we'll see what happens. And thank God.
And that was the 4-way, right?
Yeah, it was supposed to be originally me, Shelley, BJ, and the other Backstreet Boy, Johnny Cashmere. And Johnny no-showed, I think, or something. He wasn't there. Either way, Mamaluke was in the match, which was awesome for us, because he was somebody that was more established and had, I guess, a little bit of name value, and he was all up for putting us over and doing whatever we wanted. And it was really, really nerve-wracking. And I almost, I brought my regular tights and boots. At the time I was doing the Barbaric Berserker with the furry boots and the whole huss deal. But I brought my regular gear, thinking this is Ring of Honor. People don't do that here. And it was Gary Michael Capetta that was like, no, do it. Be different, stand out. And thank God for GMC, because yeah, it was really cool, because I was over for the first time in my life, first and only time in my life. I was so worried they were going to chant, don't come back after the match, going into it. But of course, it was good. We had a good match. I was over, and as I laid there next to Alex Shelley, I started chanting, don't come back. But we did. We were happy with it. I think they were happy with it. And it continued us getting booked, thankfully.
What was that like for you and Alex? Because you guys were essentially married.
Yeah.
You had 4-ways, tag matches, you were partners, you fought each other, you guys were married for the longest time.
Yeah, it was awesome. And, it was cool, because at the time, 2003, good year. It was cool because we were young, and you're just trying to get it, and you're hungry, and it's like a whole different mindset. You're just trying to do whatever you can. It was cool to have that partner with you that would do that traveling and do that work and that sort of thing. And you're just traveling with your friends, which is fun too. And so we had our spots we did, that of course we did in the match that we had done plenty of times. I think I blew a spot at the beginning of the match, but that's okay. It was recovered enough, and really can't tell. And it was. I remember thinking we had made it. I remember like my brother called me up after the show, like crying, like you did it. Like after we left the building, there was like people outside with roses. I was like, this is it. This is the life. We're being given roses. We won. I think we got $50 that night. No trans.
Now, did you ever get sick of each other?
Yeah, Alex Shelley's a prick, man. Like, no doubt. Like, he's my boy, but like, especially at the time, he was like really immature. And I'm not saying I was like, you know, an adult by any means. I was 19, but he was really immature, and he could be like really off-putting sometimes. And of course, we got fed up with each other. He got fed up with me. I tried to punch him in the face one time during a match in front of 40 people in Detroit, and yeah, we fought and cried, and yeah, like any good married couple.
It was more than just Ring of Honor, were you guys?
Yeah, everywhere. We were everywhere. I think we worked with each other like 36 times that year, which considering you're basically wrestling on the weekends. That's a lot. It was fun. But then he just went to TNA and made a lot of money, and I just kept doing what I'm doing. God bless him.
Well, part of that led you to some of the bigger, like, involved in some pretty serious things, like the whole Generation Next thing you were involved with. Steamboat, what was that experience like?
That was cool, man. Like being 19 and having Ricky Steamboat like helping call the matches with you and stuff. Like that was awesome. I'm a big Ricky Steamboat fan, and having him there was great. It was cool, and I mean, at the time, like, I was on the shows, but you have to understand also it was like a really frustrating time for me. Because like Shelley was getting like, we had a match in Baltimore in, I think it was January of '04, and the stipulation on the match, and I know they did this with Punk and Cabana like a couple years earlier, the stipulation on the match was the winner gets booked full-time and gets a plane ticket, and the loser gets booked part-time or whatever and has to drive, and guess who the loser was. So it was frustrating, and like I was over. Like, I didn't know what I had, huss, huss, huss. People like saying one word, apparently. And I was over, so there's a certain frustration of, like, can't you hear the people? And they're all, and Gabe just wasn't booking me full-time. And the Generation Next thing, like, those guys were featured so heavily. And, of course, like, I was there, but I was there to, help get them over. But, I mean, in retrospect, I should have just been happy to be there because I wasn't very good. But I was over. The only time in my life.
I mean, there's a lot of you were involved in a lot of things. That, for example, you got involved in what was a really big deal too of Bobby Heenan and Jim Cornette for the first time being, managing opposite each other.
Yeah, that was neat because, like, I don't know. I mean, it's cool. It's the first time, probably the two historically greatest managers of all time were against each other, and Jim Cornette was, of course, very, he's willing to help out. Bobby, not so much. But I was only in the match because I think Ace Steel couldn't be there for whatever reason. I've been that guy in Ring of Honor. I'm not saying I'm good, I'm not saying I'm great, I'm not even saying I'm over, but I was always there. If you ever needed somebody, if Ace Steel can't make it, or if Steve Corino's got to go to Japan, or if something happens with Dan Moff and Homicide, wherever that was, or somebody gets hurt, or Kenny King goes to TNA, who's there? This guy. There. Jimmy Jacobs. There.
Well, you brought it up, so BJ. BJ was in your first match. BJ's been a huge part of your Ring of Honor career. I mean, you get tag champs for all that time.
BJ was good, and I think we'll probably talk about the feud later, but like a little bit, whatever. But he was good because he always pushed me further, probably than I wanted to be pushed at times. We sort of had maybe a little bit different views on wrestling. BJ was a workhorse, and there was no night off. There's a difference between working with like BJ, working with Cabana. Like they're both great, but Cabana's going to be easy. Like BJ is going to make you work your ass off, and at certain times, like that's exactly what I needed, especially when we were feuding during the whole Lacey thing. Like I needed somebody there was no night off, and that helped push me to the next level.
Now, what was that like since you brought up the Dan Moff thing, going there that day, finding out?
I have no idea to this day exactly what happened, but something happened with him and Homicide, where Homicide says, "Hey, it's me or me or Moff." So Gabe's got to get rid of Moff, and I like Moff, but that's just how it falls, and thankfully Jimmy Jacobs is there. And so it was only a few weeks before the show, and he just said, hey, can you be in Asbury Park on April 2nd? And I think I had a booking that day already, but he said, we're going to put the tag belts on you, so I was all for it. So I had a show in Heron, Illinois for Ian Rotten the day before, which is like a 7-hour drive from my house. Then me and my buddies, thank God for them, we drove 16 hours, and I won the IWA Mid-South title that night, and then we drove 16 hours to Asbury Park, New Jersey, like all night, and got there just in time for the show. Did the show, then drove 8 hours to Cleveland, had a show there, and then went home. It was one of those weekends, and thank God for them, because they came with me. Because it was really last minute. It might not have been a couple weeks, it might have been like a week. It was a really short time. But it was good, because I thought, finally, I've arrived, I've made it. But like I was getting less over at the time, so the timing really wasn't good for me. But
Why do you say that?
I was getting less over. Like, you know, the people had seen the Huss Huss deal for like 2 years, and it was just starting to like just taper off and get less over. And that's the time that we got this push. But like even the push was just tag belts. It wasn't like a feud. We didn't feud with anybody. We just had these matches, and first time we teamed together, we get the tag belts, and we have drop them to Carnage Crew in there a little bit, but basically a 6-month run of just having matches, and then at the end of it, that was it. We turned heel, and it was a mess. Like, it was great, like, to get it and do it, but it was also a mess.
What did you think, if you look back on that run, what would you change?
I was a little complacent. Like, I don't think I worked quite as hard as I probably, didn't do as much stupid shit as I probably should have done. I don't know if there's much I would change, though. I mean, like, in one hand, you say, okay, they gave us a great deal because, as soon as we start teaming, we get the tag belts and we get that. But in the same token, like, our first time teaming together, they put the tag belts on us. Like, it's a double-edged sword. And, we made it work as much as we could, but you look at, like, we dropped the belts to Tony Mamaluke and Sal Renaro, and they won them their first time teaming, and you saw what that did to them. Like, that day we lost those belts, it killed both of us in one day. And, Mamaluke and Sal, which were both awesome, like, they never, it's a hard position to be put in, especially if you don't have stuff, it takes a while to get that chemistry, that thing, like, with like me and Tyler Black, we started teaming later. We teamed for a little bit at different places, and like even after Ring of Honor, it took us like a little bit. It wasn't until we started teaming for like maybe 6 months, 8 months, you start to like feel that gel a little bit, like. And so it was a hard position to be put in. As much as you think it's like an enviable position to be put in, it's also very hard.
Did you feel that gelling with BJ by the end?
I don't recall. Like I said, we had different sort of mentalities and things. He would like to do like more stuff than I like to do. The gelling was more like wrestling against each other. There was that connection. And I had a fire under my ass at that time when we were wrestling too, which helped. But yeah, we were just getting going, and then we never really got a chance as a heel thing. Our match when we turned heel was so bad they edited out from the DVD. It was terrible. And then we had like a couple matches as a team, I think. Like literally a couple. Gabe's big idea when we turned heel. Oof. I love Gabe, and Gabe's got some really good ideas sometimes, but sometimes he has these ideas that are just like, when me and BJ turned heel, he's like, we're managed by Lacey, and he's like, all right, here's what we're gonna do. Stupid little boy, big dumb man. I'm like, what? Like, what is he talking about? And the gimmick was like, Lacey would be using us, and we should be like 2 idiots that get used by Lacey. And thankfully, the ball never rolled on that one.
What was that like, Lacey being introduced into that picture?
Well, initially when we turned heel, it was so bad. Like, the promo she did in Philly when we turned heel was like inaudible. So you couldn't understand that we were turning heel. The match was terrible. It was just, and her and BJ didn't have good chemistry. Like, I love Lacey, and we worked well together. But that's partly why we broke up so soon, was just like, BJ was booked on all the shows. I was booked on like the Midwest shows. And anytime BJ and her were together, like, there was no chemistry. So Gabe's like, yo, we gotta get you two apart as soon as possible. Which worked out well for everybody.
How did because all that, the breakup kind of stemmed from the I'm falling in love with Lacey, the crush. Where did that idea go in that direction?
Gabe emailed me, and he's like, hey, I don't know what emo is, but people say you're emo, and I just know I want to slap emo kids. So what is it, and do you think you can do an emo character? And I don't really know what emo is either. I remember talking to Cabana online, I'm like, what is this? And he just Googled it and sent me links. He's like, here, read this, learn up, study up, and become the Raver of 2006. That's what he said. And although I'm not too flattered by the comparison, that's what I tried to do, and just immersed myself in it. And it was around that was January, and then there's Valentine's Day was coming up, and Gabe's like, yo, we got to do something for Valentine's Day. So I came up with an idea of me doing a vignette of me going into a tattoo parlor and coming out with her name tattooed on my ass. And then during matches, I get my tights pulled down, you see your name tattooed on my ass. And Gabe didn't like it. And he's like, I'll come up with something. But then something was happening with Low-Ki right at the same time. So Gabe got too busy with Low-Ki, and I was completely on the back burner. And that brings us to one fateful night, which this is basically the turning point of probably my life here. I get drunk. Always a good decision. It was the same night I confessed my feelings with who would be my fiance and girlfriend for the next 6 years. And I also get drunk, and it's 2 or 3 in the morning. I'm talking to Punk online. I'm like, why doesn't Gabe like me? What is it? He doesn't like me. We didn't talk. Me and Gabe didn't talk much. But you just know when somebody likes you and somebody just likes you enough. He liked me enough to book me, but I knew he didn't. I wasn't one of his guys. So I called him up at 3 in the morning, which is totally random, totally weird. And I'm like, hey Gabe, I'm dying here. I need something. I'm not AJ Styles, I'm not Matt Sydal. I don't have this athletic ability where I can go out and just have one, great match just cause. I need something to sink my teeth into. And I was just learning this about myself too, in other places. I was learned that doing these programs and storylines is kind of where I was excelling at. So I need a storyline, I need a feud, I need something to do, because I really didn't have one. Me and Shelly had a bit there, but there was no promos, there was no in-depthness to it. I was I need a promo, I need a storyline, I need something to sink my teeth into. And then Gabe just let me have it. He was just like, look, promos are nice, gimmicks are cute, but the matches sell DVDs, and you don't have those kind of matches. We gave the tag belts to you for 6 months, we put you over on our top guys, and you just didn't get over it all. You didn't get any more over than you were. I was like, well, we never had any feuds. He's like, no, but the tag team title matches are an attraction in and of themselves, and you didn't have those kind of matches. We want guys to have matches that sell DVDs, and you don't. And he let me have it for a while. He was just saying this stuff. I was like, whoa, he really, wow, this is it. And he's gone on record to say since, I was finishing up, and I had only been booked on the Midwest shows up to that point, and I was tapering off. And he buried one of my matches. He's like, I don't know who came up with this stuff in your match, but it was stupid. And so I was like, let me do something. I'll do a poem or something. I'll send you a video of something I don't know, for Lacey. He's like, all right, that's fine. He's like, we're gonna do you and BJ in Detroit at WrestleMania weekend, and we'll see how that goes. But it really wasn't hopeful. And that's when I went to my buddy's house, who I was in a band with in high school. We wrote the Ballad of Lacey. Went to Mike Z, who I just sort of met at the time, and we filmed this music video, and it was ridiculous, because me and my girlfriend had just started dating, and this is her introduction to me, just how ridiculous all this is. She's outside, holding a hose up in the air, when it's dark, while the car lights are shining on me to make it look like it's raining in the middle of the night. I remember pouring candle wax on myself while there's 2 cameras and 4 people in the room. They're all just laughing, and I have to keep a straight face. And it was ridiculous. It was a lot of fun though. And when I wrote the song, we did the videos all together. I was like, this is it. This is the thing that's going to bring me from the Huss deal. This is what's going to move me on to the next level. And I sent it into Gabe, and 2 weeks went by, and I'm he's got it, I've got it by now. I'm thinking, how can he not like this? This is really good. And I was really worried, and I just sort of given up, and I'm at my house playing Nintendo 64, I was playing Shadows of the Empire, and I get a phone call, And Gabe was like, hey, I saw your video, and that's the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. And saved my job.
Now, with all of the ideas, like all of that stuff, was that just from you, or did he offer any input? Or?
No, it was just me. Like it was his idea to do the emo thing, and then from that point, it was, you know, the whole battle. Like I said, the Battle Lacey, just even me sending him anything was like, can I do something? He's like, sure, I guess. And so that was all me and my boy Vance and Mike Z. Surrounding yourself with intelligent people that's a thing. It's a thing, people. To look smart, just surround yourself with smart people and take the credit for it. Because, yeah, without those people, you know, I couldn't have done it by myself.
And so then was it Cleveland where you had your final, your total split from BJ?
Right, that was in January, yeah, and the Battle Lacey came a little bit after that, and then that led into me and BJ in Detroit. We had the Powerbomb thing.
So what was that, I mean, after being a tag team for so long at that point, going off onto your own?
It was 2006, and I had a fire in my ass. Like, I wanted to do it. So I was, whatever they were giving me, I was going to make the most of it. And even stuff they didn't give me, you know? It was just like, yeah, fine, send us a video, I guess. Like, making something out of nothing, that was important. So yeah, I just wanted to make the most out of it. And I remember after I had that talk with Gabe that night, he said he was going to do me and BJ in Detroit. And we were like texting him or IMing him or emailing him or something. I was like, please, please, let's tear it up. Because like, that's the thing, when you're trying to come up, like these other guys are already established, it's almost like, please do me a favor and have a good match with me. And of course, BJ is always up for working hard.
Now the match in Detroit, aside from being quite awesome, had some really, really scary spot with BJ with that powerbomb. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember it fine. Yeah, the match was cool. It was a good match otherwise, I thought. I was very happy with it. And me and BJ had worked with each other a handful of times. And one of the other times was we did a tag match, me and Delirious against him and Moff in Dayton. And we do this spot where he's on the top rope and I'm on the top rope. He picks me up for the powerbomb. I give him the Hurricanrana. Well, his foot slipped on the cloth that was over the guardrail, or over the turnbuckle covering, so he slipped backwards, and I didn't know it, because I'm like, you know, the way the spot is, like, I'm bent over, then I'm up, then I'm back, so I'm disoriented as is, so I don't know we're falling to the outside, so if you watch in slow motion, I'm still trying to go back, let me give him Hurricanrana, and thank God he had the presence of mind as he's falling backwards to shoot me out, so my head hit the top rope, middle rope, bottom rope, and the apron, and then before we knew it, we were on the outside. I had no idea what happened. I was fine. His ankle was broke. But I was okay. But I didn't even know how bad it was. I just knew, like, we fell. And I remember the ref was out there, Jason Harding, and I wanted to end the match. I thought that, like, we should have just, like, you know, called, like, no contest and come back with it. But I remember, like, I didn't know if we were coming back with another match. And so it was just like, all right, we have to keep going. And then in retrospect, I look at the bump. I was like, holy shit. The first time I saw it on tape, like, I almost started crying. Because, like, man, like, if BJ hadn't pushed me forward, I would have kept going backwards, and I would have landed right on top of my head, right on the outside. I'd have been done. Ring of Honor would have been done. Everything would have been done. Whole thing. We closed the company. Been dead.
Would you consider that, like, watching it back, one of the scariest moments of your career?
Potentially, yeah. You know, it's one of those things where, like, wow, I'm mortal. I can die.
From there, I mean, the way that BJ's injury kind of proved fortuitous, I guess.
Yeah.
It actually really helped push everything along.
Yep, because he was supposed to work with, three-way with Joe and Chris Daniels the next day, which I stepped into, which I went from, like, bullshit four-way to being in that match, which was good for me. So I was starting to be featured. I remember that night is when people started waving cell phones in the air, which, like, for some reason I just, like, I knew it was going to happen. Like, so when Gabe was, like, really excited about it, I was like, yeah, cool, I guess. Like, I don't know why I thought it was going to happen. It did. And, yeah, Gabe was like, oh, this is great. We have an interactive product. This is awesome. So it was awesome. Like, I look back at that, I was like, man, like, I wish you have something like that now. Like, you don't know what you have, like, when you have it. Like, coming with the Huss thing was like, it was like the most over I've ever been. I would kill to be that over again. And now it's, you know, in the cell phone thing, I'm like, no big deal. It's like, God, I need something like that cell phone thing. That was so cool.
And one of the big parts of that whole thing too came in another thing, the three-way you guys had with Brian.
Yeah, that was
which
cool.
was your first world title match
Yep.
too. And that was in the same building where
Yeah.
the injury happened.
Yeah, that was cool. That was a cool match. It was in Detroit, so I was like, even though I was a heel, I was like hometown-ish. My parents were there for that show. And it was a good match. Brian's awesome. Like, even the three-way part was cool. Then when BJ was eliminated, me and Brian had like, you know, like some good stuff. And it's one of my favorite matches I'd had up in that point for sure. And you know, my parents were there, and the next day, my dad calls me up. He's like, oh, that was really neat. You know, I expected you to be like Doink the Clown or something, but you were really over. It's like, yeah, Dad. Like, this is what I do. I'm the man.
Situations like that, do you feel pressure?
Yeah, of course. I can't imagine being Ring of Honor champion. Like, these dudes have to follow everything. Like, because it's not just about being, like, the best guy there. Like, you have to follow everything. Like, everybody does everything, and then you have to top everything. Like, I can't imagine.
And from that too, the whole thing, the whole program with Lacey and with BJ, it pulled in a lot of outside elements out of you guys. I mean, Colt got involved, Daisy, Brent Albright. It became like a really big part of the Ring of Honor product. Yeah,
the Colt thing was, like, we started doing the thing with me and BJ and with Lacey, and Gabe's like, it's missing something. There needs to be some sort of other element. He had thrown out ideas like, what was going to happen, I think, for a bit was me and Jason Blade were going to team. Like, he wanted like some sort of like other element to it. He didn't know exactly what. I'd thrown out like Josh Abercrombie, Josh Raymond, Sterling James Keenan, like something else. But then I came up with this scenario, this sort of like, not 16 Candles. What's the Molly Ringwald, Ducky, Pretty in Pink. Yeah, sort of like this scenario where I'm this best friend who like gets like the shaft, and like you need this like jock in there, and I pitched Shelly, AJ, or Colt to like play this like jock character in this world. Yeah, it was neat. It had a whole different element to it, and it was fun. It was, yeah, I like that. And yeah, and then Gabe like had this whole, then it became like a whole circus. You know, we had Brent and Daisy and Pierce got in there a little bit, and so it's just like, so you could have a lot of different stuff happening with run-ins and things, and spearing Daisy out of her shoes, and yeah. To me, it's all smoke and mirrors, and the more tools I have, the better. Like, there's some people like don't like having a manager, don't like having gimmicks. I say bring it all. I want a manager, I want a tag team partner, I want a bodyguard, I want a valet, I want some sort of animal. Like, I want it all. I just want to stand in the ring, and I want like everybody else to do all the work, and like the babyface like get a comeback on the, hits the manager, hits my tag team partner, hits my bodyguard, hits the valet, and then like I'll have a giraffe, and the giraffe like stick its head over the top rope, drop kick to the giraffe, like and then I roll them up at the end. That's what I want. I want smoke and mirrors. So I was happy with it.
In the midst of all this stuff too, I mean, you guys did some pretty, I don't know if they're quite risque like promos and stuff, like Lacey, I'm gonna flash if you win, the Cabana shower promo.
Yeah. Oh, we did a lot of stuff, and that's why I had the other videos too. Like I make the Battle Lacey, which is, it's not easy to do. Yeah, my buddy's got like a recording studio. I got to get something to like, Mike Z to edit it all together. We got to film. We have to come up with ideas, and then Gabe Blake's like, yeah, I think we need to have you do another music video. And so we've got to spend all day, we did the Victory of Love after the shower thing, the Victory of Love, and I'm on the beach, and I'm like jumping off the pier, and like we found these girls that were just there, like, hey, can you pretend that you like want to touch me, and I'm gonna jump off a pier, like, and they did great in the video. But I remember like there's the part where I'm crying, and to do that, like, I was like snorting pepper, I had like onions that I was just like rubbing on my face, and like, they got Josh Raymond there, like, all right, think about your mom dying. Or your mom and dad died in a car accident, go. Like, I'm just trying to get these tears. It's just like, I wish we had like a behind the scenes of how like ridiculous it was to make these videos. Going to the graveyard and we find this big tombstone that has Jacobs on it. Like, it was fortuitous. And then we did what was the other one? The Kiss to Kill, of like the blood being poured on me. But they were cool. It's cool to look back and see like I have these series of videos that are neat.
You mentioned it before too, with looking into the emo stuff, it sounds like you find yourself just, if you're gonna do it, you
You have to. Like, and I had to make up for it. Like I said, I'm not Matt Sydal, and I'm not AJ Styles, I'm not Samoa Joe. Like, these guys between the ropes all had so much more ability than I ever did, so I had to make up with it other places, you know. And I used to joke that Gabe would call me to do homework, and he did, like, all the time. He always had homework for me to do, all these like promos to do, all for years, which was cool. You know, it kept me involved. It kept Ring of Honor on my mind a lot, and wrestling on my mind a lot. But I always had to make up for what I lacked in the ring, outside the ring, to create this, you know, this picture of the story and this character, and you know, to try to bring the people in.
Now, are you one of the guys who looks in the mirror and practices it? Or do you,
Yeah.
it's what comes out that's...
In your best moments, what comes out is this grand, you know, this huge, this epic promos. And there's only been a couple of those. There's one promo I can point to that I did in my garage when sort of like a few months after we started Age of the Fall. It's like this 10-minute long promo. It's where I read that email from that kid that was like, that was handicapped or whatever. I can point to that because I was really feeling something, and I really had something to say. I was like really like, had this, like I need to say something. But a lot of the promos I do, yeah, I'm in the shower, I'm thinking about the verbiage, and you know, I'm not as verbally gifted as a guy like Punk, who these things just come out, and they come out so natural, and they come out so witty. I have to think about these things. As Mick Foley calls it, go to promo land, which is, you know, if you're on promo land, you're in a good place. It means you care.
As far as the in-ring stuff, everything with Cabana, that culminated in that Windy City death match in Chicago.
Yeah.
And I remember it being a pretty, it was violent.
It was, but
And
like,
that was unlike Cabana's, you know.
yeah. But a lot of the stuff I was sort of doing at that time with BJ was, and that I was sort of getting in that that path where I was growing as a performer and seeing where my strengths lie. And Gabe started to see my strengths lie too. Like he, as opposed to the Huss deal, which was over but didn't have a whole lot of legs to go beyond that. He was seeing, okay, maybe not every match with Jimmy is going to be a DVD selling match, but you build to that one, and then you have this match, you know, this blow off. And I realized where I excelled and what I brought to the table at the time, because other people weren't doing that at the time. You know, these guys were tremendous performers. You know, a guy like Jack Evans can do all these flips. A guy like, you know, Bryan Danielson, who's, you know, a tremendous worker, tremendous wrestler. But I found where I could contribute to the product, where I was an asset to the team.
Did that give you more? Did that add to that fire you said you had on your ass?
No, the opposite.
Yeah.
That's how it works. I don't know if you know that's how it works, but every time when you get something, then it's like, well, I got it, you know, and that's how wrestling works. I think it's probably how life works. You know, you strive to get something. Once you get it, it's like, all right, it's gotten. Now what? You know, I've never heard of anybody being happy. You know, anytime you want something, you know, there's a million people that would kill to be in the spot I'm in right now. But of course, everybody that's in the spot I'm in right now, or similar spots, they all complain about it. God, you just want to get to WWE, and once you're in WWE, you complain about it. You just want to be world champion. Once you're world champion, you just want to be a movie star. So no, but I was still motivated enough at that time. And then when the Age of the Fall stuff started to happen, then it was a whole new thing that then I was really being featured heavily, which is a big deal, because you have to understand, even with the BJ and Colt stuff, like, I went over on BJ a couple times, but leading into the Age of the Fall stuff, like, I had a couple singles victories in Ring of Honor. Like, I think I beat, like, Trent Acid once, and Sal Renaro once, and, like, BJ a couple times. Like, there was, like, I had not beaten anybody. So to go from that to the Age of the Fall was definitely a big step up.
In the path to the Age of the Fall and kind of closing out the BJ thing, you guys had the steel cage match in Detroit, which fans will still say is probably the best steel cage match we've had in Ring of Honor. And it was also direct lead to the Age of the Fall.
Yeah. It's funny, because I came up with the idea of doing that cage match almost a whole year before that. Like, after we did the slip thing with me and BJ, and we knew we were going to start a feud or whatever, I came up with the idea of doing, remember they had, what do they call it? The thing, those platforms on top of the cage and those corners, what do they call it? Like scramble cage, deal they had. And I wanted to do the power bomb off of the platform, off the top of the cage, goes for the power bomb, boom, into the Rana, for the finish, like just to culminate everything, a full circle sort of thing, And we had teased other things throughout the feud, like, teasing that. We teased going off the top rope. We did the thing in New York City where he power bombed me off the top rope, over the guardrail to the outside. So we show up the day of the cage match, and the cage is so warped. Not the cage is so warped. The wood to put the platforms on top of was so warped, it wouldn't fit on top of there. I remember being so upset. We were trying to convince Gabe to use fire, and he would not let us use fire. Then we went to Kerry. We're like, Kerry, we have to use fire. We were supposed to do this thing. Now we can't do this thing. Kerry's like, all right, use fire. And so we're going to get fire. Then Gabe's like, no, there's no fire. And I'm glad we didn't use fire, because I think then people would have probably just thought of it as like the match that had fire. And what ended up happening was a pretty cool cage match that people look back. And if you look back in my Ring of Honor story, I think that would be the match people point to the most. I got my front tooth chipped in half, and during that match with a water bottle. Don't want to talk about it. Water bottle.
Now, coming out of that, I mean, obviously your body was feeling it, because you didn't wrestle again in Ring of Honor for like 4 or 5 more months.
Right. I had ACL surgery a couple weeks after that. I tore my ACL in a match with Homicide in, where was that? St. Paul? St. Paul. I hit the guardrail. When I hit the guardrail, I flipped into it, and my knee came down on top of the guardrail and tore my ACL. So I was working for 6 months, 7 months, 8 months with no ACL. I finally had surgery, and Gabe and Kerry were kind enough to keep me around at that time, managing, cutting promos, so I was still collecting a paycheck. But then, during that whole summer, it was me, Gabe, and Tyler that were emails, 3-way emails every day, playing this stuff with Age of the Fall every day, videos and things, the whole viral marketing thing, and such an exciting time.
Now, I know you've talked about it before, like other sources. That was kind of a rough spot too, wasn't it?
What's that?
For you personally?
Every spot was a rough spot for me personally. I don't know. I mean, there was no more. No, summer 2007 was fine. That was an alright time. Still, and that was fun. Like I said, the whole summer we were just planning things out and laying the groundwork for Age of the Fall. We're really excited about it.
So where did that start? What was the seed?
For Age of the Fall?
Yeah.
I remember the first time he told me about it was when we went to England in March, and I was excited I got to go to England. That was last minute too. I missed the first England trip. They didn't book me. You have to understand, this through the whole time leading up to this, I was so frustrated in Ring of Honor because I didn't have a full-time spot. I was never booked full-time, and it wasn't literally, I think until almost that, the beginning of 07, Dave was okay, you're on every show now. It was so frustrating. So you have to understand, going to England at that time was really cool for me. And then finally he's yeah, I want to do this group with you, do the whole viral marketing thing. And it's finally I'm getting not only booked, but I'm getting pushed. That was really exciting. It was really when he told me about the viral marketing thing, 9 Inch Nails had done it or whatever. It was really exciting for me.
Now, who came up with the name?
Tyler Black. Yeah. It's from some song, I think.
Since you mentioned Tyler, let's talk about him. What was your relationship? How did it become that it was you two?
We had teamed at Wrestling Society X for MTV, and we had good chemistry. Then we did one match against Morty City Machine Guns for PWG right after Wrestling Society X. And I like Tyler, and you can tell when somebody's going to be a star or whatever. So I want to hitch on to that shooting stars, get on for the ride. But actually, I had pitched him and Merrick Brave coming in as a team. And when Gabe liked Tyler, I then suggested that him and Merrick not be a part of Age of the Fall. That was I initially pitched for him to be there, then I was nah, I don't want Tyler Black in there, because I wanted me, Ricky Morton, Lacey, Zach Gowen, and Necro Butcher to be the group. And then Tyler Black, fortunately, came in there. Because basically, almost the whole idea of Age of the Fall was to have a tag team for the Briscoes to work with. So that needed to be me and Tyler.
Now, all of the viral marketing stuff, the blogs, videos, was that you, Tyler?
The three of us.
All of you?
It was the three of us, yeah. Like I said, almost every day, 3-way emails. Tyler wrote the blogs. Tyler had a whole vision of he brought this real a youth thing to it. And like I said, man, a lot of success is surrounding yourself with smart people, and so it's great having them two in there. They all had their perspectives on things, and together it sort of came together.
Now, what about the debut?
That was cool. We didn't know exactly what we wanted to do. I remember like all these sort of like different things being thrown around. I remember thinking like, what can we do? And thinking like some sort of like magic stunts, Chris Angel type floating, like just whatever. And came up with the idea of hanging Jay Briscoe and then him bleeding and then me being underneath him and talking. And then I brought in like all this white outfit, and then it was my idea to have it be this Kevin Steen and El Generico and the Briscoes can thank me for suggesting it be a ladder match. That we could have the gimmick, the belts hold, just lower that, and that was my idea.
You created the ladder.
Yeah, it was my idea, but then like a couple weeks later, because we're still trying to figure out the semantics of it, a couple weeks later, Gabe's like, you know what, I think we're going to end up having a ladder match, and we're just going to have the belts hold, like as if he came up with it. And I've got all the emails. I've got the whole history of emails of me being like, yeah, it's a ladder match. Maybe we should have the thing there.
What was that like?
The debut,
Under Jay.
that was like really nerve-wracking, because like I said, this is the first time we get really pushed, and it was exciting. And I remember like being behind the curtain with Tyler, and Tyler was a Ring of Honor fan. He's sort of like a younger kid, and was like one of the first sort of guys who was like grew up in a generation of like looking up to Ring of Honor guys. Like the Ring of Honor guys were like whatever the ECW guys to guys, you and me growing up. So he was like really excited. I was like, I remember being like, yeah, you ready to do this? I really wasn't happy with the promo. Like, if I could go back, I would say like way less. But just the visual of it, like, carried it so far. I was really excited. It was just cool. Like, I remember, he got busted open and he was on the mat, or dragging him on the mat, and there was this puddle of blood being dragged with him. He was bleeding a ton. I was like, holy shit, here we go. And like, he like went up there and, the blood splattering off. I showered in blood. It was so awesome and gross. And Gabe's gone on later to say he sort of regrets it. And I'm not saying I'd do it again, but it was great to be young and not know any better and just do something like, just it has to be done. Like the sick moment has to happen. I remember my girlfriend at the time telling me like, she was outside smoking at intermission and somebody on the phone being like, yo, I just saw the sickest thing I've ever seen in my life. Like, hell yeah. It was gross. And then we wrestled later that night, which I thought was really stupid, but whatever.
Why those pieces? Why Tyler? Why Lacey? Why Necro? What was the...
Necro was the guy we knew we had to have. That was like right away, we're like Necro Butcher, because he had been in with the CZW thing, and that was one guy we agreed upon. Lacey, just because like to change dynamic, now it was like her sort of chasing me as opposed to me chasing her. And then, like I said, I don't want Tyler in there. I want Ricky Morton and Zach Gowen. Zach for sort of obvious reasons. Ricky Morton because I wanted I'd thrown out like different names other than Ricky, but I wanted like somebody like who had been almost like a cartoon character on TV to be like a real life person with us, sort of shows like sort of darker side of like humanity with them. And I just didn't want it to be like anything else in Ring of Honor at all. But we needed to have Tyler Black in there, so me and Tyler could team to work with the Briscoes. That's why we were being built. We were being built to work with the Briscoes. The Briscoes work with everybody.
Saying Lacey, backtrack my brain a little bit to the date video.
The date videos.
Yes.
Ridiculous. Yeah, Gabe said, hey, we want to do, it was just like he wanted some sort of, I don't even know if it was date videos. Like, he didn't give me much direction on this one, I remember. Like, some sort of thing where she was going to end up falling in love with me, basically. Some sort of thing where I woo her. And so me and Josh Raymond, I think, did this. And this is his idea to do like the sit-down interview parts, which like really made it. Mike Z put it together, which like was like, he totally edited it together like really nicely, because it was all improv. Like this was, we weren't like planning scripts out and stuff. We were just going there and being assholes. And it was cool. I'm not sure they like hold up as like great pieces of, footage or whatever, but they were a lot of fun to do. And I was proud of what we came up with at the end. And it told the story we needed to tell. It was, a 4-part series, which again, I can look back, all these like sort of videos I've done. This is, part of these series of videos I've done, which I can look back on and be happy with. And it planted the seed then for the Age of the Fall. Because right at the end, we have sex, and then like we're laying there, and she's like, Jimmy, I love you too. And then you see, Jimmy Jacobs look at the camera and just give this sort of like look. And so like, it was just that seed enough where it's like, what's that? And so it got us to where we needed to go. They were fun.
Now, coming right off of the hanging, and then you had like Rapping Mark and barbed wire and
Yeah.
medicine, and a lot of very violent matches with the Briscoes and whatnot. Was that?
Well, the stuff with the Briscoes, I mean, that lasted for the whole year, really. We didn't get to. What did we do? Oh, we did a main event with the Masawa weekend with me and Necro, which was neat to main event in that building over Masawa. That being said, Masawa and Kenta tore the house down. The crowd was dead for us. But it was great working with the Briscoes. The Briscoes are awesome. The Briscoes are the best. The Briscoes, by the time this DVD's out, if they're not millionaires, something's wrong with the world. Something's already wrong with the world, but they should be millionaires. They're the best thing in wrestling.
Why were they the chosen target? Like for that idea, was it the poster kids of Ring of Honor? Was
Like character-wise?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, like, the business-wise, though, they were the tag team that sold DVDs, and, you know, they were the top tag team, and they just needed new people to work with, so we were built to work with the
When was
Briscoes.
the first time you ever really worked with them? In Ring of Honor?
I did the one match with Jay in Cleveland, where I came out and I sang the Battle of Lacey live. Probably my career highlight, I think. I think that's one of my favorite Ring of Honor moments, was singing that live. Yeah, so this was really the start of that.
Now, kind of in the midst of all this too, as you're just getting started, you had one of, I really would think it's one of your biggest singles matches too, that was completely off the cuff, unplanned against Brian.
Right. It was supposed to be Brian and Delirious that day, and there was a bunch of like snow and ice going from Dayton to Chicago, so everybody was late and whatever, and things got all changed around, and it was me and Brian, and thank God for Brian. I love Brian. People don't know how good Brian is. He's really good. I didn't know how good Brian really was until I started working with him. Like, he's not just a good wrestler, he's like he's a really good worker. He's a great guy. I've never heard anybody say a bad thing about him that knows him. But he insisted on putting me over. He insisted on it. And I insisted on going under. Like, I was like, no, you don't understand. I'm going under. He's like, no, you're going over tonight. I'm like, no, you don't understand. I'm like, because when Gabe put the match together, he's like, all right, you guys, and Brian over. And Gabe's like, actually, I think we should put Jimmy over. He's like, all right, whatever Brian wants, that's whatever Brian wants. And like, I was like, no, you don't understand. Like, I thought there was gonna be so much backlash. Like I was saying before, like, I had like no singles wins. Like, you have to understand, I beat nobody, and then to beat like the poster child for the company, like the top guy in the company, I thought there was gonna be a huge amount of backlash where it was just people were gonna turn like really quickly on me. And of course there was some backlash, but Brian made the right call in the end by putting me over, because it really helped catapult me with that momentum that I needed to start making it to the next level.
It was pretty much right after that was when you guys won the belts, right?
Right, which was also an unplanned thing. Like, it was just sort of that day. I remember Gabe like getting this look on his face, like, I think we're putting a tag belt on you guys today. Right. I think I was more excited that time than the time with BJ, because this time we actually had some momentum going. We had some like things going. It was New York City, and yeah, it was cool. It was a very cool moment.
What did you think of how abruptly it ended?
I thought look, you're never gonna get the angle you want exactly how you want it. Of course, I thought that was not the time to take it off us when it did. Just sort of stuttered our momentum, like didn't help any things, and we just picked them right back up a couple months later anyway. I didn't have like super strong feelings on it. I just didn't think it was necessarily the right move.
As the months had progressed at this point, was the Age of the Fall pretty much continuing as what you had envisioned when you started?
It started to really become it, because different pieces started getting added in, because we had Zach Gowen in, and then Joey Matthews too, and those were like my guys. And Alice in Wonderland too. Gabe wanted more like, there's more show to it, more, he wanted another girl. So there was like, one time in Chicago, I think we're all there. It's me and Tyler and Necro and Zach and Joey and Lacey and Allison. And it was like, this is the group I want. This is it. These are my guys. These are all guys I had handpicked and Gabe had ended up going with. And so I was really happy. Like then I was like, this is it.
I don't think Joey gets enough credit.
No, he doesn't. Well, I mean, he's got a job now in WWE, being a trainer down in Florida, which he's awesome at. I think, and I've been in the ring with a lot of guys, Eddie Guerrero and the Road Warriors, and a lot of Hall of Fame guys and some of the best guys in the world. I think Joey's like the best guy I've been in the ring with, I think. He's the smartest guy. I learned more from him than anybody else in wrestling, by far. And there's a locker room full of guys that'll probably tell you the same thing, you know, El Generico and Kevin Steen will probably tell you the same thing. I mean, Joey's really, really good. I don't think he was appreciated enough here to a certain extent. The guys all appreciated him, but like, I don't know. There was a certain, like, something was off. Never really meshed how I wish it would have. But I was glad to help him out at a time, you know, he had just been fired from WB and trying to get sober and all that stuff. So I was glad to help him at that time, and he's looked out for me since, which is awesome of him.
Now, in the midst of all this, too, as far as what was going on in the ring, is kind of when everything started with Aries.
Right.
In the midst of all this time, too.
Which was cool. We were building to try to, we were building to that feud with me and Aries, but, you know, we're building trying to get him in the Age of the Fall, which is cool. We had Sunny in there, too, and she was a pro as well. And you sort of had this mystery of what was going to happen, if, you know, Aries was going to come in or not. And then the night he turns me down, that was in Chicago. It was the day after we worked with the Machine Guns in Detroit, which was a long match with a lot of moves in it. The next day, I had like 6 segments or something in Chicago with, you know, all promos and stuff like that. And I remember like really, really liking the interactions with me and Aries to start that off. I was really happy with how that went. Aries is awesome. I think Aries is as good as anybody else, man. It's awesome. He's finally getting like the, you know, wrestling mainstream credit he deserves. You know, for a guy that was probably on the cusp of leaving wrestling completely to being the, you know, the TNA champion.
Take one quick step back since you mentioned the Motor City Machine Guns match.
Yeah.
What was like coming back to that, to you and Shelley, after it's been many years since?
I don't know. It was a lot of moves. We did a lot of stuff. Like, if I could go back, I'd have focused less on the stuff we did and more on me and Shelley on our stuff. Because at the beginning of the match, we do a little something, and that was like one of the biggest sort of reactions we got, was sort of the storytelling part of it. And I just thought we did a lot of stuff. It wasn't necessarily the best. I think I like our match in PWG better than that from like 06 or something.
Now, it's kind of, I guess, in a similar vein as what happened with the Cabana and BJ stuff. You guys started pulling other stuff too, because you had Aries, and Steen and Generico got involved in this too. You
Yeah.
still had the Briscoes involved. It was, again, you kind of became the center around which a lot of the Ring of Honor world evolved.
Yeah, totally, because Nigel was the world champion at that point, but our entity was the number 2 heel entity, and I mean, from the time that the Age of the Feud debuted to like for a year, like if you look at that calendar year, but that, you know, those 12 months, I was in the main event more than Nigel was, and I don't think people even like realized it, that like we were, you know, I don't know. I think I pointed that out in a promo one time, and then I think after that, Gabe was like, "Oh God, Jimmy has been in the main events a lot." And then he did an interview saying like, "Yeah, after that, we're just gonna not have." He's like, "You ever see that interview he does?" And he's like, right after he got fired, or right around the time he got fired, he had come up with like, "All right, 3 things need to happen every show. 1, the show, what does it do for Tyler Black? 2, what does it do for Davey Richards?" Because he was gonna have them, you know, whatever. And he's like, 3, Jimmy Jacobs isn't in the main event. Probably for the better.
Now, what was it like working with all those different pieces? Because they were all different in how you approached them.
Yeah.
Aries was much the feud, the Briscoes was like that blood feud, Steen and Generico was more the belts.
Yeah, and they were all cool. You have to look at like Ring of Honor as like a place where like the top professionals come. I mean, if you're not in WWE, if you're not in TNA, you know, you want to be here, and even some of the guys that are there want to be here. So it's weird, some of the oddballs you have here, but it's a collection of some incredible talent, and I'll put every one of them over. Aries and I butted heads working together a little bit, but even when we disagreed and even when he got his way, he was right 99% of the time, so it didn't matter. Of course, the Briscoes are like the best, and Steen and Generico were 2 guys that have got shit on a lot, even like backstage at the time. You know, there were times where people were like, "Oh, these guys are fat, they're skinny, they do too much, they don't know how to work, blah, blah, blah." Those 2 dudes have been so over for so long because they bust their ass so much, and they're different. And you know, the biggest pop I've ever been involved in was when they beat us for the belts in Boston. You know, and the most heat we ever got was in Hartford, where we beat them in the tag tournament. People threw trash in the ring, and So they were involved in the most heat and most biggest pop I've ever been involved in my career.
Now, with the Aries thing, there was some pretty violent stuff involved in there, but it was also very emotional. Because
Yeah.
there was, like, even visually, Aries started kind of aping you.
Yeah.
He started painting his fingernails, eyeshadow.
We've always had like sort of like a similar style. Like I mean I like Aries a lot. I think, like I said, I think he's one of the best workers in the world, bar none. One of the best, bar none. Does that make sense? And he listed me. Like, he just did an interview recently where he talked about like his favorite guys to work with, and I was very flattered that he put me towards the top of that list. So yeah. It was always, I won't say it was easy working with him, because like I said, we butted heads like creatively sometimes, and Aries, anybody that knows Aries knows he's like a really strong personality, and that's a nice way of saying he's an asshole sometimes. I mean, I love him, like, don't get me wrong, like, but he knows he can be a certain way. But like I said, he was right almost all the time, so it didn't matter, if I wasn't getting my way creatively all the time or whatever. It was awesome working with him.
Like, those little touches where they just kind of an off-the-cuff thing that
What do you mean?
did, the little things that he did to kind of play into the, is he going to join? Was that just...
Yeah, it was him. It was him. Yeah, I mean, he's a great creative mind. He's great all around. Yeah, he just didn't want me to try to rape him. That was the thing I wanted to do. That's like, I just thought like, after he took Lacey from me, I was like, the Jimmy Jacobs character has now been emasculated, it's been humiliated, and I just thought we had like all these like elements set up. And wrestling's a weird thing where it's hard to. It's a smaller canvas than anything else. Like with other like TV shows, you get to do sort of whatever. Wrestling, it's like you don't get to do a lot. Like, so if I say I want to try to rape you, you're like, oh, that won't work in wrestling. But I just thought we had all the elements lined up where it's like, in the crazy Jimmy Jacobs mind, like, he needs to reassert his dominance over Austin Aries. He needs to emasculate Austin Aries. He needs to embarrass him. So I wanted to do that. He wasn't up for it. I don't know.
Speaking of the crazy Jimmy Jacobs mind, did you ever find yourself so immersed in Jimmy Jacobs, the character, that it blended?
I don't know. I think other people might tell you yes. I never thought so. But, Jimmy Jacobs and me are, they're an offshoot of each other.
Whose idea was it to kill Lacey?
I guess, apparently, and I didn't know this, Gabe's in a weird point in his life. He talked about this in an interview he did, which I thought was a really cool idea. Originally, it wasn't that I killed her or stabbed her or whatever. We filmed this vignette of me like approaching her in the parking lot, but you can't really see what happens or know what happens or whatever. Originally, Gabe's idea was that I didn't come up and threaten her. I came up to her and I say something where basically like, if you don't take me back, or if you don't leave Ring of Honor, I'm gonna stab myself. And then she was gonna come back at the I Quit match with me and Aries and be like, hey, whichever one of you really loves me, you'll quit this match. And then I would, bow out, which I thought was like a really cool like twist. And he had left by that point, so that never happened. But I thought that was more in line with the character of Jimmy Jacobs, and like there was enough of a twist there to be like, oh, I wasn't threatening to stab Lacey, I was threatening to stab myself, which I thought was neat.
Since you mentioned it, did that change anything?
Gabe leaving?
Yeah.
It changed everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it changed everything. Adam and I just never clicked together. And I like Adam a ton. I'm not saying that as a negative thing or whatever, on him. It's just Gabe saw me a certain way. He had a vision for me, and he knew how he wanted to present me. And Gabe was good about that. He knew he had guys he liked that he would know how to present. This is the guy that is this. This is the guy that is that. He was very clear about that. So Adam coming in mid everything. He doesn't have the same he's not as immersed as Gabe is in Gabe's head and in his world. So just never, yeah. I love Adam, and he ended up, I think, really getting on a good stride, booking wise after I left. But we never got the momentum going to get me where I think I wanted to be. But and that's my fault too, because I don't know how to book myself. People would think oh, Jimmy Jacobs writes the storyline. No, I had input in, but Gabe was the force behind it always. And So I didn't know how to present myself necessarily either.
To backtrack just a little bit before that happened, whose idea was it for the Delirious stuff? Like, what
That was
about
Gabe. That was Gabe. Yeah, Gabe had Delirious, which was cool. Like that whole thing with him and Daisy Hayes. It was a neat, different aspect of the storyline. Delirious and I had like a neat dynamic. You know, I was like his father or something, and you know, Delirious, Brody Lee, Mischief. Those were all Gabe's ideas. Yeah, that was Gabe completely.
How did you think those pieces fit into the whole Age of the Fall dynamic?
It was cool. It wasn't, like I said, the guys before Age of the Fall of, you know, Black and White, as I like to call them, and then there was Age of the Fall, like Black and Green or something, Black, Green, and Red with Mischief and Delirious, whatever. The first guys were like my guys. Those were guys like I had thoughts for and I had visions for and I had wanted initially, and then Daisy and whatever, Delirious, Mischief, and Brody were like Gabe's sort of thing. So there's just different. It was just different. That's all. And they're all awesome. I wouldn't say a bad thing about any of them, except Delirious. Fuck them.
But in the midst of all this stuff too was obviously you and Tyler were getting ready to
Right.
go your separate ways.
Yeah.
How'd you feel with that, with the final battle, stuff how that went down?
If I could go back, I would do that all a lot differently. I just think there was something else to be done. I just think what ended up happening, it just didn't work. Me and Tyler didn't work as a feud. Like, the turn wasn't that good. Tyler was initially supposed to win the belt at Final Battle, which I thought was the time to put it on him. I mean, he had so much momentum. Like, it really, I thought that was the time. And I just think, like, I don't know, I'd have done something different. I'd have him just, like, win the belt and just sort of leave me, you know, just something where our ideologies are just too far apart. We don't feud or anything. He just leaves me and we go our separate ways. But then maybe, you know, we come back around at the end and, you know, 6 months later, a year later, as I'm wreaking havoc still in Ring of Honor, you know, only my old best friend can come and stop me. You know, something like that. But I thought the way it happened just, it never clicked. It never clicked.
Now going out of that too, stemming from that, you ended up with Aries a lot.
Yeah.
Together, you guys did the stuff.
It was just weird, like, and that was sort of, not the original idea, but Gabe had talked about that before he left too, just because Aries wanted to be a heel, big time, he really wanted to be a heel, and it was just one of those things, maybe it's weird enough to work, and it sort of did, sort of didn't. He had his own thing, I had my own thing. It just, you have to, at this time, like, things weren't clicking, how, you know, for whatever reason, just, it wasn't the best time, like, for my time in Ring of Honor, just things weren't clicking, that's all there's to it, you know, whether it was Aries or, you know, Tyler or, you know, Necro turned and Delirious turned, and some of those matches ended up okay, but as a whole, it didn't end up how I wanted it to, you know, as Jimmy Jacobs, like, went further into his descent and, you know, started to, you know, look more like a scrubbed out and just like I stopped caring about the world and all that stuff. It just, like, towards the end, like I said, the match with Necro and whatever, Houston, I liked. I had a couple of Delirious towards the end in Toronto, and then off TV that I liked, and then the cage match with me and Tyler was fine. Other than those couple spots, like, it just seemed like it just, as a whole, it never really got going, and I mean, that's why I ended up leaving Ring of Honor. I mean, whatever I've said anywhere else, you know, half-truths and whatever, the fact is, I just wasn't very over anymore, and that's it. I just, like, the people needed a break from me, I probably needed a break from the people, but yeah, it just, I think everything wasn't falling into place like it was before.
Well, how did it come to that you decided, or whoever decided that it was your time to leave?
It was me, and the original plan was for me to only be gone for like 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, something like that. I mean, it wasn't supposed to be 2 years, that's for sure. But it's just, yeah, it was me, because it was just like, I am not over. I need to come back. I need to refresh, and I need to come back and something, because this is just, it got brutal, man. There were some nights I remember just going out there and just to this deafening silence, and yeah, it was hard. It was hard in this last few months. We're like me and Sanjay in like Manassas. It was just like I remember just being so quiet. Like me and Brody coming out in New York City one time, like, and just looking at Brody, I'm like, God, we are so not over. It was just it was hard. It was hard to just be. It was dying. I was dying.
Would it be safe to say that the way it ended is not the way you saw your Agent the Fall Baby ending?
I didn't think about how it was gonna end. That was fine how it ended as far as like, I don't know, some of it. I thought like the cage thing with all the guys coming out, like, I thought that was an underrated moment. We had like 60 guys in black ski masks storm the cage with me and Tyler in Detroit. I thought that was neat, but like that was when we were closing up. I wish we'd come up with that like earlier or something. And they hung me in Chicago. It was fine. There was, a certain story, circularity to it. It came full circle towards the end. But it was just sort of leading up to that. It was just floundering and just treading water, just not going anywhere.
Now, why did you said it was only supposed to be short? So what happened that it turned from a couple months absence to being 2 years?
Here's a word of advice: never take yourself out of the picture, okay? Because you don't know if there'll be a spot for you when you come, when you want to come back. And that was true in this case. Adam's booking, and then Cornette came in, and Cornette really doesn't know me very well, or especially didn't at the time. So somebody had to make room for me, and so it just sort of became a thing where it's like, all right, well, it's not going to be here, it's going to be in a couple months, right? It's going to be a final battle, and then we had made the decision to bring me back. I think February of TV, so in February of 2010. But then I had done some stuff for Gabe Dragon at USA, and then I started working for Evolve, and Kerry had just said, hey man, like, it's nothing personal, it's just if you're gonna work for Gabe, we're not gonna have you back. And so I was disappointed, but I was also fine with it too. I wasn't fine with it. I was frustrated with it because I liked working for Gabe, and like whatever heat they had, whatever problems they had, to me that didn't have anything to do with me. But I also understand business-wise, if you're in a competition or whatever. And I respect Carrie. I still like Carrie. I still like, I came to shows once in a while when they were in the area and stuff. I still had friends there. Truth Martini, that's when he started coming to the picture there. So I had all my friends were still there. So I missed it. But, yeah.
So when you finally came back, when you got that call to come back, what was that?
Well, I came to the show in New York when Tyler dropped the belt to Roddy. Delirious had taken over the book, right? And him and I go way, way, way back. And because Evolve was in New Jersey that same day, earlier in the day, and so I just dropped by with my buddies. And I talked to Delirious, whatever language he speaks. I said my piece in English. I just said, don't feel, because he's my friend. You don't want to make your friend feel weird and pressured now just because he's got a spot of some power, some pull. I said, don't feel pressured. When the time comes, you'll know it. I'm up for coming back, but it'll come. Don't force it. Don't push it. And that was in September. And the next few months, he had talked about bringing me in, but didn't have quite the idea or whatever. And then finally, it was May or April? He called me. He was like, I got what we're doing. He's like, you're right. The time came. And the time did come. The angle was there and everything. And so I came back after 2 years. Finally. Jeez, long 3 months.
How did that, the role in which you came back as Steve's sponsor, so to speak, how was that for you?
I liked the idea, but I came back the same day that Sinclair Broadcasting, it was announced they bought the company from Kerry. So between everything, it just got lost in the mix a little bit. With the TV, we weren't featured on TV at all. The ideas that Delirious had came to me originally about the whole angle, it just got way, way slowed down and just changed a bit, and it was just with new people owning the company, with different things going on, with TV coming in, we just weren't as much a priority as initially was sort of, I think, the plan otherwise. So there was a certain amount of frustration there, of course, starting my career just being frustrated, and there. Yeah, we wanted to do some more, but it just, we weren't a priority. But then we ended up sticking around long enough until somebody else left or somebody screwed up, and we were there, so we've since gotten the opportunity I think we needed.
Now, that initial promo that you had of, your own personal demons for the last 2 years since you were gone, was that pulling a lot from real life?
Yeah, I mean, yes-ish. I did a series of videos that are online. If you look up Jimmy Jacobs Revealed, it talks about me like using drugs and stuff. And of course, there's truth to that. I mean, who doesn't like drugs, right? No. Yeah, it just got, the drug use did get too heavy. It was too much. It was too life-consuming. And of course, it's not, as in grandiose terms as we talk about in wrestling, as I presented it probably on these videos. But yeah, I was definitely heavier into drug use than I probably should have been. When you're focused on that, you're not focused on other things. When your priority is finding your pills or whatever that day, you're not so worried about everything else you probably should be worried about. So it was, a lot of things in my life took a backseat to finding drugs.
What righted the ship for you?
What
righted the ship for you? Like what?
What is that?
Cleaned it up, I guess. Like what?
It's just, drugs are fun. Okay? But they're fun when you want to do them. But when you start, have to do them, when you need to do them, when your life revolves around them, then it's not fun anymore. It can be a really, really miserable existence. And there was a good year or so. I've been taking them recreationally for a little bit, but then it really got to be a thing where it was life-consuming. And it just gets to be no fun. And you can't imagine life without them, but you can't keep living with them. So something's got to give at some point. And it did, and I cleaned up, and thankfully, and I was never happier than I was. And, yeah, it needed to happen because it's exhausting. It's an exhausting, miserable existence. It really is.
But it certainly provided that fuel for that sponsor.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because there's truth to that. Just the idea of just cleaning your life up and going from to seeing the sun out again, I guess, and trying to do that whole thing, living, whatever. Been there, done that. It's cool.
How do you think it's evolved so far? Since you came back.
Finally happy to turn with Kevin and have Steve turn with Kevin, and finally with a group of us. It's cool because I'm with my friends and we're just having fun, and it's cool because we're three guys that, in all realities, are sort of, let's say, outcasts in the company, but we're not like corporate favorites. We're all a little different. Kevin's too fat, Steve's too old, I'm too skinny fat, or I'm not athletic enough, or whatever the case may be. We're not cookie cutter mold wrestlers. We're not even like Ring of Honor style cookie cutter. We're not like wrestlers and do stuffs and kicks and need a lot of, I don't know, that sort of, if Davey Richards is the Ring of Honor prototype wrestler, Davey's tremendous, one of the best, absolutely best in the world. This is a knock at him at all. We are the opposite of that, and so it's cool being at the top of the pack right now with my buddies.
So your journey, if you look back on your journey now, since you were 15, on a pogo stick with a cat in the hat.
Yep.
To Jimmy Jacobs now, what is it?
Long. The time we're filming this DVD, it's been 13 plus years. It's a long, exhausting journey. From being on a pogo stick to the furry boots, the love storyline with Lacey and being emo, to being brokenhearted, to being the leader of a cult, to having personal demons and descending into madness to coming back rejuvenated, all to fall right back to where I was before. It's exhausting. It's long and exhausting.
Would you change any of it around?
Not a thing. Other than the things I said I would change earlier in the interview, I would change those. But for the sake of a nice wrap-up for this interview, I wouldn't change a thing.
And we're back here for a four-corner survival match as we have B.J. Whitmer in the ring with Tony Mamaluke, Jimmy Jacobs, and Alex Shelley. Us. And that's right, we have Alex Shelley and Jimmy Jacobs, two young independent wrestlers under the age of 21 who've only been in the wrestling business for about 1 year, and they drove all the way from Michigan to be here in Ring of Honor for an opportunity to be in this four-corner survival match tonight.
They are two of the top talents coming from the Michigan scene, which the Michigan indie scene really getting a lot of attention lately when you put Jacob Shelley, who's in the ring right now, with Tony Mamaluke, and you add Chris Sabin to that, and that one-leg guy in WWE, that's getting a lot of attention.
That's right.
So Michigan's really taken off, a hotbed of independent wrestling talent, and we have these two youngsters right now. As you see Tony Mamaluke in there trying to intimidate the youngster.
That's right, Mamaluke making his return here to ROH. He came back last month after an 8-month hiatus here as he is hooking it up with Alex Shelley right here in the ring.
And what about what we just saw at intermission with Homicide and Julia Smokes and Capetta? And from what I'm told, the Capetta's trying to arrange a meeting with Low-Key and Homicide and Smokes for the end of the night. And I guess we're going to see that towards the end of the tape, or at the end of the tape, or DVD, whatever you happen to be watching right now. So that's a very interesting situation to keep an eye on, as that situation looks like it's about to explode.
You're right. So after the final match tonight, get ready for that, because that will be on the tape. And we saw what happened last time in Philadelphia at the end of the night. All hell could break loose, because remember what happened with Joe and Daniels.
Unbelievable. What's even more unbelievable is this guy with the Huss. Jimmy Jacobs in the ring, and the Huss is over.
A smaller version of Bruiser Brody in the ring there with the furry boots and the Huss here, as he is going for a test of strength right here with Tony Mamaluke.
Mamaluke, the veteran, he's not going to be intimidated or fazed by any of that Huss stuff that's quickly catching on here with the ROH fans. As there you see a nice hold, nice takedown. And there you see a reversal by Jacobs and a reversal by Mamaluke. Jacobs looking again, another pinfall combination. No, Mamaluke turns it over.
Back and forth, great action in here. And he almost had, but Mamaluke holds on, and Jacobs smartly rolls into the ropes.
Tony Mamaluke, a shooting expert, and you saw him grab that arm out of nowhere and try to rip it out of its socket, but Jimmy Jacobs unfazed. I'm very impressed with this 19-year-old youngster right here. Hard to believe he's only been working for about a year or so in the wrestling business. Jacobs now standing off.
He's grasping the wrist there.
Hey, where do you get furry boots like that?
I have no idea. I'd like to know, though.
Tag goes in. Here comes Alex Shelley. This is one of the top rivalries from the Midwest area, from Michigan. Jacobs in the purple, Shelley in the black. We got a collar and elbow tie-up, and there's an arm bar right there by Jacobs. And Alex Shelley, definitely a can't-miss talent, I would say. And I think what's he doing? Oh, nice.
Wow, beautiful, nice reversal right there.
As
Up and over, I'm sorry.
I mean, it's just hard to believe they've only been wrestling for about a year, these two.
Huss, and he goes over. Wow, nice roll through.
Into a half crab. Mamaluke helping Shelley to the ropes. Rep Hansen telling him, hey, it's four-corner survival. Stay out of it.
That's right.
Don't forget the big thing in this one. One fall to a finish. None of that elimination stuff. None of that, oh, I'll let this pinfall happen because I'll just get the next one. You have to get that one fall or you're not going to win.
That's right. We were talking earlier about the submission style and the tap-out match, but the four-corner survival match in here in ROH, another ROH original, and I'll tell you what, it's really catching fire.
Oh, look at that.
Wow, beautiful movement right there.
And it was almost all over in a hurry before B.J. Whitmer could even tag in.
That's right. Alex Shelley saying that close. He almost was that close to getting a 3 count early on here.
And I would say in the little that I've seen of Shelley and Jacob so far, they've been very impressive and definitely deserve to be here in ROH.
You're right here. And he goes, whips him into the ropes. Up and over goes Shelley. And again, Jacobs follows through, but he's met by a big punch right to the face, and now a forearm. That'll knock the Huss right out of you. And Shelley whips Jacobs in. Up and over, but no. Nice maneuver right here.
Takes him over in an arm drag, but there's Shelley right back with an arm drag of his own.
Very nicely executed here. Both these guys trying to get an early victory right here.
No, off the ropes goes Jacobs and reverses that on Shelley. Beautifully done. Shelley missing the drop kick.
I didn't know Bruiser Brody could do lucha moves. Look at that, rolls through La Magistral, but not enough. These guys are moving great.
Jacobs now grabbing the arm, and wow, I can't say enough about these two.
And we haven't even seen BJ Whitmer yet in this match. And the fans getting behind Jacobs right there, chanting Huss. Kicked with the furry boot.
I think that BJ just blind tagged himself in. And yes, and he's got both. Oh, a double exploder!
Wow, what a great maneuver there. BJ Whitmer had enough of that. It comes in, but he's met by a nice baseball kick by Mamaluke and a leg sweep. And he's working on that leg of BJ Whitmer early on right here. Tony Mamaluke will make you submit really quick. And now Mamaluke working, but BJ rolls through. Mamaluke still holding on to that leg.
And now Whitmer going for a leg of his own. Whitmer, an athlete that's really catching fire here in ROH, really coming into his own. And this is definitely a guy that could be in the top 5 rankings soon, as he deserves to be. As you see Mamaluke trying to get the arm, but BJ's got those two hands clasped together, not letting it happen. He rolls out, and what a display of strength again by BJ Whitmer. Drops Mamaluke down.
You're right, what a tremendous, powerful move there by BJ Whitmer, as he just picked up Mamaluke and tossed him down, but Mamaluke smartly and wisely going back to that leg.
Whitmer now, no, and there's Mamaluke still having the leg, turning it over, ouch.
Wow, what a painful maneuver there, as BJ Whitmer is in a lot of trouble right here. Mamaluke's showing me some things right here and goes for a camel clutch right there.
Mamaluke definitely showing he belongs in that pure wrestling division here in ROH. It's an unofficial division, but one that Tony Mamaluke, with his skills, his knowledge, can definitely fit into. As now BJ, though, turns it into a camel clutch of his own. Whitmer using that size and strength advantage in this one, as he is just throwing these guys around so far. And BJ Whitmer, this guy is about to become a breakout star. There's no doubt in my mind about that.
You're right, and Alex Shelley tags in.
Alex Shelley tags himself in. Oh, face wash.
Face wash while he's hooked in the camel clutch.
Ouch, that's got to be painful.
Nice cohesiveness there by Alex Shelley and BJ Whitmer. I don't even think they meant it to work like that, but a nice move there by Shelley. And again, a couple kicks. Wow, what was that?
That was a knee right to the face of Tony Mamaluke and a kick.
Powerful move. And Jacobson.
Huss.
The power of Huss right there. And Whitmer just kicks the you-know-what out of him as Huss goes to the floor.
Did you see Jacobs with the velocity that he went to the floor? Wow.
My goodness.
BJ Whitmer just a monster in this one.
I'll tell you what, he's looking really impressive. He's looking like a monster out there. BJ Whitmer, I could see a lot of great things in the future for him in ROH.
Well, BJ Whitmer is definitely impressed in his first 6 months in ROH, and I think he's at the point right now where he's ready to break through. But before we get into that, you got Mamaluke down, you got Alex Shelley down, and this one has been action-packed since the start. Tons of great wrestling, as there's a nice jawbreaker right there by Mamaluke, and Mamaluke tags out to BJ Whitmer. Mamaluke hurting, he needed that tag. People sometimes ask, why would you tag out in one of these matches? Well, if you got a body part that's hurting, if you don't have to expend the energy, why not get out of the ring and let the other two guys duke it out and then go back in when they're weakened?
You're right, Whitmer. Nice elbow right to the face of Shelley, and he's down. Whitmer going for a cover, but no, not enough. 2 count by Ref Hansen. And I'll tell you what, even though Alex Shelley's on the defensive here, these two newcomers are showing me a lot here in ROH.
And you got to figure a victory here would definitely put the winner in line and get in that top 5 rankings. So prestigious just to be mentioned among the top 5. And look at that aggressive attitude by BJ Whitmer, just hoisting Jimmy Jacobs into the ring. I guess that's a tag.
I guess so. I think that's the first time I've ever seen a partner tag a guy in and hip toss him in.
Yep, I guess that's what we're talking about before. BJ Whitmer may be saying, hey, I'm going to let these two guys beat each other up a little bit while I take a breather, and that's why he tagged out. Because you know when one of these guys is weakened, he's going to want right in to get that one fall, because it's one fall to a finish. And oh, nice move right there. A backbreaker by Jimmy Jacobs. And Huss, oh, it looks like he's a little scared of BJ, and I don't blame him.
Yeah, I don't think he wanted to tag BJ in. Who knows what he'd be met with. But I'll tell you what, this match could have some implications in the top 5 ranking system, especially if Whitmer, a person who's been on a roll, could get a victory here. And Mamaluke, wow, nice backdrop driver on Shelley, and he's down. But this match could play an important role in the top 5 ranking systems. And once Mama Luke, well, tags in Whitmer. Whitmer graciously comes in and meets Shelley with a big boot and another.
BJ Whitmer looking absolutely dominating so far in this one. And, oh, did you see that chop? Wow.
That's right, Whitmer fired up, especially after what happened to him 2 weeks ago in Boston.
Oh, another one of those knife edge chops.
Being involved in that whole Raven CM Punk feud. BJ Whitmer definitely looking for an opportunity here for victory. And a nice suplex, go for the cover. Still didn't get him.
BJ Whitmer, he's hard-nosed. He's as tough as they come. He comes from the old school. He's like one of those wrestlers that Bill Watts would want to get into the ring to hook it up. And then BJ Whitmer, he now tags out to Tony Mama Luke.
That's right, Mama Luke in the ring. And Shelley, I think he needs a tag. It looks like we might get a double team maneuver right here. I guess we have a 5 count. Shelley underneath and is met by a double armbar right there. Nice submission move there by Whitmer and Mama Luke. Now Whitmer's got to get out of the ring, but that still leaves Mama Luke in the ring with the hold on.
Yeah, but look at Jacobs flipping himself over to alleviate the pressure. Shelley, beautifully done by Alex Shelley right there. As now you see Mama Luke, he's taking the offensive to him though.
That's right, Mama Luke, he has Shelley in a precarious position. He's got him hooked.
Uh-oh, he could be going for that finish. We've seen him do the superplex right into a submission move. He's done it before. There's a palm strike. He could do it again. It's made guys like little Guido tap, and you know who he is now. Hold on.
And Mama Luke, this is the same way he achieved victory at Do or Die last month in Philly, and he's got him hooked. But now Shelley fights out of it and throws him off.
Mama Luke, he can beat anybody at any time. He's a very dangerous competitor, but Alex Shelley knew it. Alex Shelley fighting out of the hold. Let's see if he can follow it up. Oh, look at Whitmer.
Whitmer goes over, and here comes Jacobs.
And Huff just took out the legs of BJ Whitmer.
And that leaves Jacobs. Jacobs with Shelley now. And these two men, no strangers in the ring.
And what do we got? Oh, he's going for a Hurricanrana, but Shelley catches him. And Shelley now dumps him backwards.
And he just dropped right down on his face. This could be the move that Alex Shelley's looking for. Jimmy Jacobs is at a disadvantage right now.
All 4 men are beat up. All 4 men are hurting. This fast-paced match taking a toll on every competitor. But Mama Luke's up. BJ Whitmer still hasn't gotten off the floor. And Mama Luke, he could be going for submission on Shelley. No, takes him down. Russian leg sweep into a submission hold. We could have a tap right here, right now. Can Alex Shelley hang on in his ROH debut? Oh, BJ Whitmer saves him with that headbutt from the top.
What a brutal headbutt by BJ Whitmer as he just soared off the top rope. And Mama Luke and Shelley are down. And that leaves Whitmer in the ring.
And it's impressive for a big guy like that to fly as he hooks Mama Luke. Takes him up, brainbuster. Another high-impact move from BJ Whitmer.
Dropped him right on his head. And now Jacobs comes off with a senton. And he hit Mama Luke. Goes for the cover.
And
no, not enough. And I think Whitmer's had enough of this. He's got Jacobs up and drops him down.
Blue Thunder driver. Oh, double boot by Shelley.
Shelley just kicked him right in the face. And I think that fired up Whitmer. He looks pissed off.
And Ref Hansen losing control. And look at Whitmer. He's saying, hit me.
Oh! What a lariat. He could have knocked him out. I think
Shelley's decapitated.
He could be. That's a decapitator if I ever saw one. But no, Mama Luke, look at this.
He broke it up by putting Whitmer in a Fujiwara armbar.
This could be it.
Mama Luke a cross arm breaker.
Well, no, Jacobs breaks it up with a double stomp right to the abdomen of Tony Mama Luke.
And what a fuzzy stomp that was.
You're right.
Huss set right into the corner right there. Mama Luke going for the arm one more time. Yes, it's a divorce court. And now rolls it over. Oh, look at all the pressure. It's a hammerlock with a bridge. And will Jimmy Jacobs, can he survive in his ROH debut? Will he tap? And there's Shelley flying onto the pile.
Oh my God, he could have broke his shoulder on that one. All 4 men are down. What action here in ROH?
And right now you have to be thinking, I have to clear the ring of the other 2 guys if I plan on going for a pinfall or submission. That's what we're talking about in 4-corner survival. That's why the 1 fall is so important. As now Mama Luke going for another submission, doesn't quite have it hooked, but Shelley into the ropes. And you can't even think of going for a pinfall or submission in this match unless the other 2 guys are cleared out of the way, unless there's no chance of them coming in. Enziguri by Shelley.
And Mama Luke just got rocked and is met by a big lariat by Whitmer.
Whitmer's just taking off everyone's head in this one.
Whitmer's showing me a whole hell of a lot right here.
Oh, Shelley blocking an exploder attempt, trying to turn it into a DDT. No small package though. Oh, I thought that could have been it. Could you imagine pinning BJ Whitmer in your debut?
Shelley almost with the upset Richard right there. Oh, wow, did you see the positioning of that? He laid it on his head, and Jacobs comes in with a big mafia kick.
Hold on. Mamaluke's got a submission on Shelley. Will he tap? Whitmer's taking Jacobs up. He's got him hooked into an exploder. He hit him with an exploder cover.
And that's it.
BJ Whitmer was given the option of choosing a new partner to go after the straps. He chose Jimmy Jacobs, citing the fact that Jacobs showed him a lot in Dayton, took a lot of abuse in Dayton and kept fighting back. Whitmer thinks he's a great tag team wrestler. Whitmer also believes he has a lot of untapped toughness. Samoa Joe and Pure Champion Jay Lethal earned this opportunity to go for the tag titles by winning that incredible main event last week at Back to Basics, defeating Spanky and CM Punk.
Right now it's a side headlock by Jacobs, and he takes Lethal over. Lethal, the Pure Champion, takes the hold away with the head scissors. And it's interesting because when Lethal and Samoa Joe earned this title shot, they were thinking they were going to be going into the ring with a disadvantage as far as experience as a team. Now they have the experience advantage as a unit.
Jacobs and Whitmer definitely the underdogs in this one. This could also be another historic night for another reason. If Jay Lethal can win the tag team titles tonight, he will be a double champion. And you want to talk about climbing from Special K into being a superstar, you could be looking at a double champion here in ROH. Jimmy Jacobs holding on to the arm. Jacobs has waited a long time for this opportunity. He wants to make the most of it.
Well, Jimmy Jacobs has not been the first time that he's been picked to be somebody's partner. When Ricky Steamboat was looking for a team, he picked Jimmy Jacobs to be on one of his side.
That is right. Ricky Steamboat hand-selecting Jimmy Jacobs to be on his team on a couple of occasions, and compliments don't get much higher than that. Jacobs now taking Jay Lethal down. Lethal, though, coming up, avoiding that last arm drag. Jacobs ducks.
If Brian Danielson likes to call it the airplane spin from hell, that is the head scissors from hell.
Both men dizzy after that one.
Traditional tag team strategy says you start with your speed and tag to your power. Both teams starting the match this way, we made both guys look like they really ought to tag.
You know, we also have another factor in this one. If Jacobs has to be kidding me. He wants Samoa Joe.
How dizzy did he get?
Here comes the big man, the 21-month ROH World Champion, the ROH legend Samoa Joe, and Jimmy Jacobs showing the guts, the toughness that BJ Whitmer talked about, as he is not intimidated. As I was saying before, if Jacobs or Whitmer can pin Jay Lethal in this match, that would put him in line for a pure title shot.
But right now, he has to survive against Samoa Joe. And you've got to appreciate the heart of Jimmy Jacobs, but I'm not sure this is the best strategy if the goal is to win a championship.
What a tough break for BJ Whitmer, losing his tag partner Dan Moff. A tough break for Ring of Honor. And right now this could be a tough break for Jimmy Jacobs.
Though to Jacobs' credit, he didn't go down.
Yeah, but Jacobs does not want to get into the striking game with Samoa Joe.
The Whitmer's encouraging him. Look at his partner in the corner.
I don't blame Jacobs one bit.
All right, now we're talking a little bit more sound strategy. Remember, this is for the ROH Tag Team Championship. Now is not the time to try to prove your manhood.
If we're seeing BJ Whitmer versus Samoa Joe, we've seen them meet on a couple occasions. that super hard-hitting four-corner survival back at the second anniversary show that also included Loki and Dan Moff. And of course, BJ Whitmer challenged Samoa Joe for the world title back at Wrath of the Racket, and he took Samoa Joe to the limit on that show.
BJ Whitmer may have the single most explosive move, pun intended, in all of ROH. The one move that cannot be defended, that wrist clutch exploder.
That move puts everyone down. Samoa Joe taking Whitmer off his feet. Big cross faces. Peppering Whitmer.
Even though Samoa Joe is no longer the ROH World Champion, he still has a giant target on his back. Every time he's in the ring, whether it's a singles match or a tag team encounter, everybody knows it's like being the old gunslinger in the Wild West. Everybody knows if you take Samoa Joe down, you will immediately establish yourself as one of the biggest stars in all of professional wrestling.
Samoa Joe has made lofty goals for himself. He wants to get the Pure title, which would be odd because he'd have to challenge Jay Lethal for that. But he also wants the tag team titles. He wants to be the first man to win all 3 belts in ROH.
Tag back to Lethal. There's the tag to Jimmy Jacobs.
As Whitmer, not on the good end of those blows from Samoa Joe before. We have the 2 quicker men now, although Samoa Joe is very quick in his own right.
As is Whitmer. Whitmer's a terrific athlete.
Yeah, in fact, I rescind that statement. As here comes, Jimmy Jacobs firing back on Jay Lethal right now.
All the hell that Jimmy Jacobs has been through. How ironic would it be if somehow he manages to come out of this match as tag team champion?
Well, if one man deserves it, it's Jimmy Jacobs. He has taken some hellacious beatings in ROH. He has definitely earned his stripes. He has paid his dues. He has driven 12 hours to wrestle on shows. In fact, he even drove 12 hours to wrestle on this show here tonight.
What would go through Alex Shelley's mind?
Right about that. Jacobs, of course, a former tag team with Shelley, as he gets dropped right there. Jay Lethal now on top. Jay Lethal proving that his Pure title victory was not a fluke, pinning CM Punk in that tag main event last week to earn this tag title shot right here tonight. Jacobs now stuck in the corner, the recipient of a hard chop. And you have to ask yourself too, is who was the one who attacked Jay Lethal at the Trios tournament? We talked about that a lot last week. Jay Lethal attacked before the show. His eyes swelled shut from the attack. It was a sneak attack though. He did not see who did it. ROH officials are currently investigating, and they have ruled out the embassy as possible suspects.
Really?
Yes.
That's interesting.
I do have that scoop. So the embassy are not behind it, as they all have alibis. In fact, they were in Prince Nana's limo when it happened, eating shrimp cocktails.
Well, Samoa Joe and CM Punk demonstrating the first real teamwork by either side in this match.
Jay Lethal, you mean? Big knee. Samoa Joe with a definite size advantage here. Lethal, no. Oh, Joe's just taunting him at this point. Samoa Joe in firm control. Can he back up his statement? Be the first man to win all 3 ROH titles. He needs the tag belts right here if he wants to.
Samoa Joe and Jay Lethal, that's their 4th tag to only 1 for the combination of Whitmer and Jacobs. Especially if they're going to trap Jacobs in the ring, the ability to move in and out is really going to play a big part in this match. And for the first time tonight, Whitmer's got to come in and make a save. Now, even though they have more experience as a combination, Joe and Lethal do not have a lot of experience as a combination.
No, not at all. They had that mentor-protege relationship, but they don't have a lot of time tagging with each other. Lethal, though, right now in firm control on Jimmy Jacobs. Whipping Jacobs corner to corner, reversal. Jacobs, no, up and over. Jacobs needs to be in a position to make a tag. This could be it. He's going to the top rope. If he connects, he'll be able to tag out to BJ Whitmer, the powerhouse of the team. No, Lethal steps out of the way. No one home for Jacobs and a cover. 2 count only.
Yeah, Lethal way too quick and nowhere nearly beaten down enough to be caught with a missile drop kick.
Here comes Samoa Joe.
Hey, Joe, come on, knock it off. Come on. No, BJ.
Whitmer can't lose his composure like that. Joe taking the head off of Jimmy Jacobs' cover. Whitmer having to make the save. Todd Sinclair trying to get control.
Jimmy Jacobs may be out on his feet.
He's still fighting. He's still struggling. This is the toughness that B.J. Whitmer is talking about. Whitmer and Moff beat Delirious and Jacobs to a half inch of their lives in Dayton, Ohio during the 3rd anniversary celebration week, and Jacobs and Delirious still almost won.
Oh, that was one of the closest falls that you will ever see that didn't actually result in a victory.
Jacobs now stuck in that crab, though. Look at Joe putting all that weight on him, rearing back.
Now notice Joe and Lethal really haven't trapped Jacobs in the corner.
Now you're right about that. One thing to also note, you only saw one tag team belt before this match. Ring of Honor trying to get the other one from Dan Moff. As there's a power bomb. Once again, though, we want to thank Dan Moff for all his contributions to to Ring of Honor. An absolutely class individual. The man who opened up ROH. And we won't forget you, Dan Moff. Thank you for everything.
Double knees right into the neck and the chin lock by Lethal. But again, notice they're past the center ring point.
That's a good point. And now, yeah, and there's where Jacobs is trying to take advantage of that fact. He lands on top of Lethal. 2 count only.
Jacobs wisely tried to go for the cover. And look at Lethal. Lethal trying to get Whitmer to make a blind charge in the ring and does so.
It works. And Lethal showing his veteran presence there as he is learning. You can't call him an upcomer or a youngster anymore. Oh, double team work from Joe and Lethal backfires. Drop kick. This is Jacobs, just has to go to his corner. He takes Lethal. Going for that Contra code, no. Oh, Joe catches up against Huda Corona into Lethal.
This may be Jacobs' last chance.
Whitmer, he's fresh on the outside. He's a house of fire. He's waiting to explode. He needs that tag to ignite him. There it is. Jacobs almost getting in the way of his partner there. A little miscommunication. These two guys still learning the ropes, still learning how to work with each other. Here comes, no, Whitmer saw that coming, ducks down. Crossbody attempt, Whitmer rolls through, holds on. Plants Jay Lethal with the brainbuster, cover! Samoa Joe with the save.
The power of B.J. Whitmer on display there. Take a lot of strength to control a body.
He's got the wrist clutch! He's got it! Oh no, Lethal up and over. Lethal now whipping Whitmer. Corner to corner. Lethal with a boot. The action's getting fast and furious. Hits him with that DDT. Cover! There's Jacobs with the save.
Tag to the big man.
Samoa Joe now. Taking it to Whitmer. Whips him corner to corner. Whitmer ducks. Super kick. Joe staggered.
It may be a little bit more time before Whitmer can tag Jacobs back in after all the punishment Jacobs absorbed.
Well, Whitmer in trouble after that sidewalk slam. 2 count.
Whitmer may have to go alone for a while.
Samoa Joe now looking to follow up. This is the aggression we've known from Samoa Joe. This is what we saw in the trilogy against CM Punk. This is what made him world champion. Samoa Joe taking it. No, Whitmer catches him with an exploder. Dumps Joe on his head. That was not the wrist clutch exploder, but a regular one, and Joe might be out. He landed right in his head and neck. This crowd rooting on both men. Both men get tags. Jacobs has had time to recoup.
Now Jay Lethal and Jimmy Jacobs going to trade chops in the middle of the ring.
Dragon suplex. Jay Lethal wins all his matches with this. That's how he beat Punk. Back elbows. No, he's got to go for the Dragon again. Jacobs catches him in a bulldog. Whitmer seen an opportunity, knocks Joe off the canvas. Doomsday Rana, cover! Just a 2 count. What heart from Jay Lethal. This is the same effort we saw when he defeated John Walters at the Trios tournament to win the Pure title with one eye completely swollen shut.
But now what does Jimmy Jacobs do?
He could go for the Contra Code. Reversal. Lethal shrugged off from Jacobs, connects with that heel kick. And look at Jacobs trying to, yes, Jacobs makes a tag, and here comes Samoa Joe. The big men are back in.
And Samoa Joe laying everybody out with those chops.
He almost chopped Jimmy Jacobs out of his boots. We've seen him kick Jack Evans out of his boots. Power slam.
1, 2, 2.
Whitmer kicks. Jacobs was going for a senton and Lethal caught him and tossed him from the ring.
Great ring intelligence by Lethal.
Jay, break it up, come on, break it up, come on.
Whitmer dumped on his head, cover! Samoa Joe's looking frustrated. He thought that was it. I thought that was it. This crowd in the historic Asbury Park Convention Center thought that it was it.
How did Jacobs get back in the ring?
Lethal now going up. What's Samoa Joe doing? Oh, that's it for Jimmy Jacobs. He gets squashed with that tope. Whitmer going up. Lethal cutting him off. Oh, he's got the wrist clutch. Dangerous!
We have a battle of two-time former ROH Tag Team Champions,
BJ Whitmer to take on Jimmy Jacobs in our next contest. And you'll notice Lacey pointing at her feet. The word is that she has promised Jimmy Jacobs, if he takes out BJ Whitmer during the course of this matchup, that she will allow him, after the match in the locker room, to give her a foot massage.
That is some sort of a reward, I guess, in the bizarro world that exists inside of Jimmy Jacobs' brain. Speaking of bizarro, did you see that video? That was the creepiest thing I've ever seen in my life. What was that?
Quite disturbing, pouring hot wax on his own chest. It's a very disturbing video from Jimmy Jacobs. He and Lacey are a very interesting couple, if you even want to call it that. But this is the first time we're seeing BJ Whitmer back in action since being destroyed at the hands of the CZW Invaders back at Arena Warfare in Philadelphia. Who knows what kind of mental shape or even physical shape he is in after that.
Yeah, BJ got hit with a barbed wire baseball bat, staple gun to the forehead, spray painted on top of all that. But he seems to be in pretty good shape so far, although that head scissors from Jimmy Jacobs took him off his feet, and he's feeling the effects of that right now in the corner.
These two men worked very well as tag team champions, plowed through basically every team that crossed their path, but the team sort of dissolved at Dissension back in Cleveland, and continued this morning on the Fox Morning Show as BJ Whitmer attacked Jimmy Jacobs, and Lacey shouting instructions toward her man, Jimmy Jacobs. And you know, he seems really infatuated with Lacey, but it seems kind of one-sided. Is it just me, or is Lacey not really interested in Jimmy Jacobs so much in return?
Yeah, I think she's a girl who's used to getting what she wants and using. As Jimmy Jacobs gets caught by BJ Whitmer, trying with a crossbody off the top, boot to the midsection. She's used to getting what she wants by any means necessary, and if that means she's got to kind of flaunt herself at a guy who's obviously infatuated with her, I think that's exactly what she's doing.
You use the word using, and that's exactly the right term. I mean, we saw some of those promos from months earlier where she said that she likes to manipulate men, and certainly playing with Jimmy Jacobs as best she can right now to use him to do her dirty work. Right now it's BJ Whitmer in control, and Jacobs down on the concrete.
Picks him right back up. He's going to fire one more time at the guardrail. And again, Jacobs elevated into the steel upside down.
Several times his lower back has collided with the top and the edge of the steel barricade. Head over heels into the steel, as now Whitmer brings the action back inside.
Head over heels situation Jimmy Jacobs has been in since the day Lacey decided to take the two of them under her wings, as the New Angels.
BJ Whitmer in control. Shot right across the chest of Jimmy Jacobs as Lacey looks on.
She does not look pleased. As Jacobs again with a cover by BJ Whitmer, able to kick out at two.
They're looking to follow up right here. Sends him off. Beats nothing but elbow. You know, the Whitmer-Jacobs tag team really started to fall apart when Jacobs' infatuation with Lacey began. He lost the focus on working well as a team, as a unit, and was more concerned with what was going on with Lacey at ringside. It's what caused them to fall at the Dissension event. Not really be on the same page.
Yeah, I saw several times in the course of title defenses by Whitmer and Jacobs when BJ was in need, looking to his partner for some help. Jacobs was nowhere to be found on the outside trying to tend to Lacey's needs. Instead of taking care of his partner, instead he gets caught in a leg lariat right there. It is all BJ Whitmer early on.
Goes for the cover. Only gets two. Lacey encouraging Jimmy Jacobs to fire back here. Whitmer in control. Shot to the ribcage. But Whitmer now. Vertical suplex.
Snapped him over quickly. Another cover here by BJ. Only able to get two.
Whitmer not very happy with the referee's count. It's sort of steady, but he's very anxious to exact some revenge, to prove that he was the better man in the tag team.
Slapping the face of Jacobs in the corner.
Just stomping away on Jacobs in the corner. Throws a warning from Jason Harding.
Don't you know who I am?
Driving the boot to the midsection of Jacobs.
And a head scissors, the momentum sends Whitmer face first into the second turnbuckle. See if Jimmy Jacobs can capitalize here. Double stomp down across the back.
A little bit of a springboard off the second rope, driving his feet to the back of the neck.
Lacey very pleased. You have to wonder, BJ's mind frame, what it is right now. He's got to be thinking about the CZW wrestlers after that horrific beating in Philadelphia. He already snapped on Jacobs this morning when ROH was on the Fox Morning Show. He's got a lot of things running through his mind besides the pain right now.
Yeah, he had some problems with Christopher Daniels, but that's all got to be out of his mind after the beating he took from the CZW guys. Drop kick to the head on the side of the ring post, only a 2 count.
Lacey encouraging Jacobs on as he tears away at the face of BJ Whitmer. Jacobs slow to follow up.
See again the distraction of Lacey on the outside. Jimmy Jacobs taking his attention away from BJ Whitmer momentarily there. Didn't cost him right now, but he just is so unfocused at times with Lacey on the outside.
Just working him over here. Double stomps from Jimmy Jacobs. Working over the midsection and follows up with the elbow. Very lackadaisical cover.
Again, looking at Lacey on the outside for approval instead of getting on top of the man and hooking the leg properly.
The match of the year not coming together right here to get the victory against BJ Whitmer.
Match of the year?
Yeah, together for the match of the year.
That thing was just creepy. Stop that.
Are you on MySpace?
No.
Jacobs looking to follow up. And he does. Driving the boot right into the neck. In the back of the head of BJ Whitmer. Blowing a kiss in the direction of Lacey. He needs to stay focused.
Cannot give an athlete the likes of BJ Whitmer that kind of time to recover while standing on his chest with 1 foot and blowing a kiss to your manager on the outside. Again, the point of the elbow right to the chest. Going to the outside now.
Climbing up is Jimmy Jacobs. Back senton.
Whitmer, though.
Back to his feet.
Hits the exploder. But can he cover it? Lacey upset on the outside.
Double count administered by Jason Harding on both wrestlers. Rolls underneath the big boot attempts. Boot to the midsection of Whitmer. Contra code.
Whitmer puts on the brakes, though. Headbutts by Jacobs.
Trying to get the momentum to execute the maneuver.
Driving the knee repeatedly to the chin of Whitmer.
Contra code. No, caught by Whitmer. Dropped face first on the turnbuckle.
German folds him in half, but he hangs on.
Sunset flip by Jacobs. Roll up. Again, only 2. Both men back to their feet. Boot to the midsection. Whitmer trying to elevate Jacobs. Delayed vertical suplex. And they both tumble over the top men to the floor.
Jacobs trying to fight his way out of that suplex attempt. The momentum from him kicking his legs sends both men over the top to the floor.
Whitmer trying to realize where he's at. There are no other candidates for the match of the year. I guess that's indicative of her shouting frantically that he's not doing his job. Up to the apron comes Jimmy Jacobs. Going for the head scissors. Power bombs right on the edge of the steel.
Jacobs went for that head scissors, caught by Whitmer, and what a show of strength by Whitmer. Powerbombing him to the steel. Rolls him right back into the ring.
Jacobs' back is done after that. Brainbuster.
That's got to be it. Cover by Whitmer.
Jacobs kicks out.
What guts by Jimmy Jacobs.
Doesn't really want to rub her feet. Whitmer.
Running boot. That's it. He's out. Cover.
We're close to the ropes.
Once again, Jacobs able to escape by the skin of his teeth. Whitmer drags him to the center. And now he's going to the outside.
Jacobs laying on his back in the center of the ring. Whitmer climbing up top. Jacobs getting back to his feet though. Takes away Whitmer's balance, crotch on the top turnbuckle.
Jacobs struggling to get to his feet. Whitmer gasping for air up top. Jacobs going up.
Maybe looking for a superplex. But Whitmer trying to fight it off. Shots to the midsection of Jacobs. Headbutt from Jacobs.
Jacobs all the way up top. Both men perched.
Who's going to get the maneuver?
Whitmer fires a right hand to the back. Whitmer all the way up top.
That could be disaster for one or both of these men.
Whitmer was looking for a powerbomb off the top. He slipped. Both men go crashing. Jimmy Jacobs' head looks like it hit the ropes and the apron on the way down. Whitmer crashed all the way to the floor. How is this guy standing right now?
Oh, he's limping. He tried to shift his body weight on the turnbuckle. And the turnbuckle knob that tightens the ropes rolled underneath his foot, and they both went crashing to the floor. Jacobs' head hit the ring apron on the way down, and Whitmer looks to be injured as well.
Jimmy Jacobs, by all rights, should have a broken neck right now. How he is not hurt, I don't know.
Kick out! Exploder! No! Jacobs trying to fight it off! Elbows to the side of the head! Contra code! Nails it! Lacey up on the apron!
Jacobs had him beat! Lacey doesn't want him beat, she wants him dead!
She doesn't care about the victory. She wants him to take B.J. Whitmer out. She wants him to put him through the table. He had the 1, 2, 3 for sure. The Contra code. But she wouldn't even let him go for the cover. Oh, she's just toying with Jimmy Jacobs' mind. She's brainwashing this kid.
Oh, did you see the smile on her face right there? She knows exactly what she's doing. Whitmer set up on the table now by Jacobs.
Jacobs could have a concussion. Whitmer's leg is injured. But they're continuing to battle, and now the table coming into play. Could he be thinking of back senton through the table? Lacey looks very pleased as Jacobs taking too much time. Whitmer back inside the ring.
Jacobs blowing Lacey kisses, allowed Whitmer to get up off the table.